Welcome to My Favorite Bitch, where we talk openly about the good, the bad, and the oh my fucking god ugly of raising dogs, and sometimes other non-canine pets, including the human ones. We might talk about poop, and we might swear, so fair warning. Thanks for joining the pack. Now let's get this ball rolling. For a game of fetch, of course. Hey everybody, welcome to My Favorite Bitch, the podcast where we share honest tales, stories, not waggy tales, but sometimes those too. Honest tales about the good, the bad, and the humanity of raising dogs and other pets, including sometimes the human ones. Today, I'm going to talk about patience in training. I'm not going to talk about training methods. I'm not a trainer. Oh, look, if you're watching on video, you've just had a sighting of the silver elephant, Moxie, in my mirror. Have you ever tried to concentrate on something, like maybe you work from home, or maybe you do a podcast, but you're trying to concentrate on, or maybe you're on a phone call, you're trying to concentrate on something, and in the background is your 5-month-old Labrador retriever chewing on all kinds of toys and shit. It's, I hope it doesn't come through on the microphone, but hey, if it does, it'll be just like all of the crap that you see on my floor if you're watching this on video, because hey, this is what we are. We're authentic and we're real and we're honest, and we don't put on any airs, because most of the time we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Oh yes, also we swear. So hopefully you're not listening to this with the kids in the car, or if you are, hey, great, good job for you that you're teaching your kids how to properly swear, and that it really isn't that big of a deal. Anyway, I'm digressing totally. I'm going to talk about patience today, patience in training. You know, as I've said in previous episodes, I follow a lot of dog expert, dog training forums, and one of the common themes that comes up is people who are training who get very frustrated because either it takes a long time for their dog to learn something, or they think their dog has learned something, they've trained, but then they regress. And I will just tell you, spoiler alert right up front, your dog is going to need to be retrained, and you're going to need to do some refreshers their entire life. I don't know any of my friends who have dogs who don't have to occasionally retrain their dogs or remind them of their training because they just forget, or they quote mess up. Just was talking about this with a friend the other day, that her dog bolted and didn't follow the recall that she had trained extensively on, and it had done for years, had come when she called, and in this case did not. So you know what, you go back and you retrain. But I'm experiencing the challenge of patience right now with a 5-month-old Moxie. She's 5 months as I am recording this. So Moxie has done great. She's a Labrador retriever. She's very smart, and she picked up your common training commands: sit, lay down, come, sort of. She's getting better at most of the basics, right? She's done pretty well on. But it takes time. It takes time. So even though she got sit like the first day, right? The first week we got home, one day we were training and she got sit. After that, it was a little bit frustrating because I thought, well, she's got it. She was very consistent every single time for an entire day. She sat when I said sit, but then all of a sudden, boom, she forgets or she doesn't do it. Folks, this is perfectly normal. Some dogs will get stuff immediately, and some dogs really need to be trained. And it is all about just being very patient. Most of the time, it takes much repetition for your dog to really get ingrained in their head a training command. So case in point, Moxie is now starting to go into our pool. So my husband and I, it's late spring, but we're in the south of the United States, so it's been pretty warm, and we have a pool in our house, and it's opened up. And a few weeks ago, we introduced Moxie to the pool, And, this is a part of her training regime because I want my dog to be confident in the water, but also safe and also understand where she needs to go. It's a very big in-ground pool. And we do have a step ladder at one end, but that's not an easy thing for dogs to get up. And we will be putting in some additional ramp type exits at the deep end of the pool. But it's a big pool, and no matter where she is, certainly at 5 months old, she doesn't know where to go, right? And the instinct is to go to the edge of the pool, and it's very difficult to get out of the pool. So the training is to get her confident, to get her comfortable, and to also understand where the stairs are, because at one end of the pool are some stairs that she can exit and enter easily. So when we started training her, it was pretty cold. So Sean and I, my husband, we were not in the water. We would stand at the edge of the pool, and we had her on a very long lead. So it was just really getting her comfortable with the actual big body of water. We knew she liked water. She is very triggered by rain when it heavily rains here, and the rain kind of streams down the curb. We live in a kind of a hilly, mountainous area. She just loves that, and she likes to play in my bathtub. So she's no stranger to water. I have known many labs and retrievers in my day, and all of them, you're hard pressed to keep them out of the water. Little story about our previous lab, Ripley. She was a chocolate lab. Ripley, we used to joke when she was very young about how she was the only lab we know that hated water, because she didn't really seem to get into her little kiddie pool much. We lived in a residential area, and we had a little kiddie pool, and it was summer and warm, and she just didn't really seem to get into it. Well, one day, Ripley was probably about 7 months old, and we went to Sean's dad's house, and he lived out adjacent to, I don't know if I'll call it a lake so much as a big pond. So it was called a lake. It was, I think, classified as a lake, but it looked like a big pond, and, a lot of lily pads and growth. But it had a dock, and I'm sure that his dad probably fished there and stuff. Well, we were walking down the yard towards the water, and Ripley, our lab, was off leash. Weren't thinking anything about it because she's the lab that didn't like the water. All of a sudden, she got a scent of the water and took off running all the way down the dock and leapt into the water without ever having been swimming in a big body. She just instinctively did it. Last summer, my brother came to visit with his lab, Shiner. And even though Shiner was at the time sporting a little bit of a knee injury, as soon as we got in the backyard, the pool was open, Shiner jumped right into the deep end. So, I have friends with retrievers and labs, and they just love the water. So it's very instinctive. So when Moxie was starting to get introduced, I thought, she's going to just jump in. That's what labs do. That's what retrievers do. They jump in the water. Their Labradors are bred to be water dogs. Their coats are adaptive to water. But no, that was not the case. She did not jump in. She did not even go in. She was very tentative. She basically sat on the step for probably 10 minutes and splashed at the water, made the motion of swimming with her little paws, like she knew in her head, somewhere innately, it was there that she knew how to swim, but she wouldn't go in. At one point, she kind of slipped off the side and went in, but then it was like this panic, right? And we had to kind of lead her and she was just literally a few feet from the step, so it was fine. But that went on for a few times. She really just didn't seem like excited. She was definitely seemed more fearful or tentative. So, that was a little frustrating, having had dogs and knowing people with dogs and seeing dogs of the same type that were so water oriented. I thought, oh my God, this is going to be the real lab that doesn't like water. But I had to be patient because she was 4.5 months old at the time. She's still just a puppy. It's a big stimulus. It's different. It's very daunting. It's a big pool. And we were kind of standing over her. So one day even though it was a little cold, but hey, I'm from Michigan. I've swum in Lake Michigan in temperatures that you would almost not even believe how cold they were. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to do this. I went in to the water and it's in the shallow end. So it's only really up to my waist. And now I'm in the water when she's on the steps. So I'm more at her level. And I was able to just gently, slowly coax her into the water a couple of times. And again, at first it was just there was a little bit of panic, like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I'm actually swimming. And then she would get to me and kind of try to grasp onto me. So it took many times for her out there to, number one, be comfortable and confident in her swimming. And she's still not there. She's still not 100% by any means, but being at that level in the water with her really helped. And then it was many, many repetitions of getting her out and then showing her how to get, where she needs to go, to the steps, right? Go back to the stairs, go back to the stairs. So that worked and she got better at that. And then I realized, well, she's actually really, when she would go out into the water and she would grab the end of her long lead, like she needed to retrieve something. So I started pulling in toys for her to actually retrieve. And that worked even better. But again, many, many repetitions over many instances of getting in that freezing cold water over several weeks. So now she's at the point where she will jump off of the side of the pool into retrieve something. And she's more confident and she's more comfortable, but she's not there. I mean, we'll never, and no one ever should. No one should ever leave their dog or let their dog have access to a pool when they're not around. But it's a big pool and I don't want her even at one end of the pool while I'm at the other end of the pool without her being a strong swimmer, because I can get to her, but it does take some time if she were ever to have any issues. So I guess, my point to everybody is it takes a lot of time, and it's going to take a lot more time for her to be more comfortable. She's jumping off the side now, but not every time. And there's still some hesitation sometimes. That'll go away, but it will take some time. It takes a lot of repetition. Another story that I'll tell you about patience is when we raised our last two dogs, Sammy and Ripley, Ripley, the chocolate lab, Sammy, the pit bull shepherd mutt, we at some point decided to get an underground fence. So the fence where the dogs were the e-collar. And I was very vehemently opposed to this. My husband thought it was a great idea. Let's try it. We had just moved to a house in Michigan that had 2 acres. It was going to be very cost prohibitive to put up a physical fence. But I thought with my pit bull shepherd, Sammy, who had an extremely high prey drive, I thought there's no way an e-fence is going to hold him. I was very skeptical. Ripley, I wasn't really worried about so much. Ripley, as a lab, as many labs are, not all, but many labs like to be by their humans. So she really wouldn't ever go very far from us, even when she was off leash on a trail. Sammy would disappear, but Ripley, the lab, she would just always be looking behind her, like, "Are you still there?" So I wasn't worried about her. I mean, she would meander into the neighbor's yard, maybe take a dump, and bother the neighbors, and probably that might have gotten a little bit out of hand. Maybe she'd go over and eat their flowers. I don't know. But I wasn't worried about her. I wasn't worried about her being contained. I was very worried about Sammy being contained because, again, very high prey drive. So he's the one that would chase after the squirrels and catch them. He's the one that would go after whatever. He's the one that got hit by the skunk. A story for another day. But so I reluctantly, because it was so cost prohibitive to get a physical fence on 2 acres, I said, okay, let's do it. So we put in this electric fence. And, the lesson in patience, which I thought was going to be in Sammy, I thought I'm going to be training this dog for months on this fence. Day 1, lesson 1, they take him over to the flag. And, and he's like on like level 0, right? So it's just a little tingle on his neck with the e-collar. And he's like, I got it. I got it. Just nope, not going near the flags anymore. I'm done. Nope. All I need is one lesson. Done. Nope, I'm done. And he got it immediately, like literally immediately. I couldn't get him to go. I couldn't even train him because I couldn't get him to go near the flags. It was just like, that's it. The first time. Ripley, our lab, on the other hand, who I thought was so smart and she would get it. Oh no, training day after day after day. And we kept upping the level. So Sammy we settled on about a level 3 because you want enough that just in case there's a high prey drive incentive for them to cross the boundary. So we left him at 3. Ripley was at level 9. And that was as high as they go. And the guy came out again because we kept having them come out to adjust the level of the vibration. And he said, I can probably, kind of bootleg it and make it go a little higher, but this was again, the patience of how in the fuck is this smart lab not getting this? Well, she was getting this. She just had a high tolerance. Neighbors coming out into the lawn were more of an incentive than not getting zapped with her little collar. She eventually got it, right? She eventually settled down and got more familiar. Part of it is, it was new for her. It was a lot of stimulation. And when you have an animal that is in a situation where they're experiencing new things, that new stimulations can sometimes, there's adrenaline or whatever. It can, I think, override, what they can achieve and what they can train. That's why you shouldn't really train a dog when a dog is like super highly stimulated. Try to train a dog that's about to go to the zoomies, and it doesn't work. But again, a lesson in patience, because she eventually got it and she was great and very much respected the boundaries. Although I will say Sammy would not go near the flags, but Ripley would definitely go to the point where she would hear the beep, the warning, and then she'd just back off just a touch, and then she'd like pee or shit, because I think she was like, okay, now I know where my border is. Sammy was just like, no, I know where that line is, and I'm not even going to go near that. So anyway, so patience. I mean, there were times over the course of the 13 years when we raised our last couple of dogs, Sammy and Ripley, where they were well trained on things and they knew the commands and they had done them hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of times. And we'd have to retrain. We'd have to regress a little bit. We'd have to kind of go over things again, because for whatever reason, they either just forget or got lazy or, I don't know, stubborn. I don't know. But expect that your dog is you can never train a dog and get it, great, perfect. And then you're done. You're going to have to go back and reiterate those commands at some point. I will almost guarantee you, I would bet money that that'll happen. So just be patient. And don't be too frustrated if it feels like it's taking your dog a long time to learn something. That's very normal. And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast, is because I see these videos where the trainers are training dogs, and they make it seem so easy. And it's very effective. It's not that the techniques aren't effective, but this is what they do 16 hours a day or 8 hours a day. You don't do that. You have a life, and you don't do this with dog after dog after dog, where it's, it's like wiping your ass, right? You just don't even think about it. I don't know why I came up with that analogy. Brushing your teeth. I don't know, something, drinking. Breathing. No, wiping your ass, because I don't know, I like to talk about poop, but plus, sometimes when you see these training videos, or when you go to training in person, sometimes the example dogs that you see, they've already been training for a while. So it takes some time. Be patient with your dog. Be patient with yourself. Don't get too frustrated. It will happen. aggregate marginal gains over time, little changes. That's what we saw with the pool. This was many instances, different techniques used, but many instances, and each training session was many times of trying to, get her comfortable with swimming. And we will continue to do that because she's not there, even though it's been many weeks and many times in the pool and out of the pool. So repetition, consistency, and patience. Just be patient. All right, folks, that's it for today. I would love to hear about your stories, your experiences in patience and training, and what you think about that. You can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm Beth Ann Campbell. That's Ann with an E. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as The Bean 67. That's THEBEANN 67. You can also look up Miss Moxie Blue. She is on Instagram as Moxie Blue Yule, which is her official name, Moxie Blue. So again, thank you. I hope you guys are having a great time with your dogs. Now go outside and play fetch because it's fun. Take care. Thank you for joining My Favorite Bitch, where we don't hold back about what it's like to raise that little fucker of a pet. We hope you had fun. I'm your host, Beth Ann Campbell, and you can reach me on Instagram or Facebook as TheBean67. That's THEBEANN 67. And also on Instagram as Moxie Blue Yule. That's my dog's site. She insisted. I'm also on LinkedIn as Beth Ann Campbell. That's Ann with an E. And check out my YouTube channel, Beth Ann Campbell, where you can find this podcast and other fun videos on the playlist My Favorite Bitch. Remember, we are not trained dog professionals in any way, so please consult the real experts and do your research on anything you hear on this program. We barely know what we're doing. Now go give your pet some snuggles, and we'll catch you after a good nap and some tasty treats. My Favorite Bitch is produced by Beth Ann Campbell and is a product of Beth Ann Campbell, LLC. All rights reserved. Go fetch, Moxie. Good girl.